This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Coping with the loss of a child. Welcome back to another edition of Real Answers, a regular Wednesday feature during the Family Life Noon Report, where we discuss the issues that matter to families with licensed mental health counselor Christopher Anderson. Welcome back, Chris.
Thanks, Mark. Good to be back.
Good to have you, though I don't know if there's a tougher topic out there. Every parent's worst nightmare.
This is going to really tug on heartstrings, and it's bad enough if you have to cope with the loss of anybody, but when it's a child, it takes it to a whole new level. If this is you, I really, really pray that you really listen today, that you really take to heart what we're going to talk about, and just know that this is not an easy subject to discuss, let alone to listen to. It's good that we're addressing it here.
Yeah, for sure. Now, one important key I would think is that it's just not the kind of journey you want to try to walk through alone.
Definitely don't do it alone. And, families, when this happens, and it's usually very untimely, obviously, but it's very unexpected. And even if it isn't expected, like, for example, if there's a condition that is not either treatable or the prognosis is not good, you want to get that all-important support system around you. Don't do it alone. We live in a country that offers bereavement time and family leave time, so please make sure you're aware of what benefits you have through your employer or through whatever resources you have for taking time off, because this is something that you really got to pay attention to. You got to take the time to focus, and you need to take the time to address these processes so that you can get beyond the grief.
You touched on this a little bit before. Does how a child passed away play into the grief process at all?
In this situation, in this type of a topic we're talking about today, Mark, there's no cookie cutter, everybody goes through it this way. There's so many factors and variables that can go into how people grieve the loss of a child. I mean, there's just so much at play here. It could be your child has a terminal illness or a condition that will not allow them to live. And the reality is, while that might allow more time to prepare and to have certain pieces in place, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's any easier to go through. But there's other factors too that influence how a family is able to cope with the loss of a child. And that is, again, the strength of the marriage relationship or the strength of bonds with an extended family. Also, how strong of a church are you attending? I mean, that's a huge part of this too.
Oh, absolutely.
And we cannot forget those things. We absolutely cannot forget those things. And those components are really what are going to be in place to help carry you along. And you've heard me say this before, and probably almost every topic that we talk about is, how's your support system? Who are the folks in your life that are going to be there for you? When you can't stand, they're going to hold you up.
Trying to step into those shoes, difficult as it is, especially for believing parents, I can't imagine that they wouldn't first be asking the question we all ask, Lord, why did y'all allow this to happen?
That is a hard question to answer. And, look what I do for a living, Mark. People come to me and want to talk about stuff. And I say, ask me the hard questions. And I mean, honestly, we shouldn't shy away from the hard questions. Just because they ask doesn't mean you have to have the right answer, because sometimes there just aren't any, and that's one of them. Don't feel like you have to throw out scripture real quick. Sometimes throwing out scripture real quick, a lot of times, especially to other believers who already kind of know these scriptures, can look somewhat callous, maybe a little bit insensitive. Just be there and let them grieve, and be there. Let them grieve. Let them talk. I mean, if they're asking a question and you know the answer, great, answer it. But if you don't, especially with that big one you just posed there, Mark, why is this happening? Why did this have to happen to my child? It's okay to say, I just don't know, but I'm here for you. And we have a loving God who has all this in control.
Yeah, certainly the book of Job rushes to mind when we're talking about this. You're listening to Real Answers. I'm Mark Webster, along with licensed mental health counselor Christopher Anderson, talking about coping with the loss of a child. Let's flesh that out a little bit more, because I think it can also be a struggle for friends and family to know where to truly try to begin to help somebody in this situation.
Well, the biggest thing is, again, don't feel like you're on any kind of a timeline to deal with it. People do grieve at different ways and in different lengths of time. But one thing you do want to keep an eye on is what's called complicated bereavement, where other factors might interfere with your ability to fully process the loss. This can show up in a number of ways at different times too. It can be a little bit later on. It doesn't have to be like right away, obviously, but it can be later on, like years later on too. If you're having a hard time getting past the grief, and for example, you just have possessions of the child that you just absolutely can't part with, or if there's so many pictures, and I hate to use these terms, I'm going to be very blunt in saying this, if you've got almost like an altar set up to
like
the
a shrine,
child, a shrine, that's a very good indication that you're suffering from unresolved bereavement and complicated bereavement, that I really encourage you to go talk to somebody. This is what I want people to hear right here, okay? Doesn't mean that you're forgetting the person. It just simply means you're allowing yourself to move past the grief. Being able to move past the grief does not mean you're forgetting, but there might be things that are indicating that you're just not handling it well. Like we just said, you set up an altar or a shrine to your child, or other family members are getting involved in the process where it's just putting stress on them too, to have to keep up with the pace of remembrance, that type of thing. So if you feel like you're falling into that category, I'd strongly recommend talking to somebody, a pastor, a counselor, just a trusted friend, and just say, I just can't do this. I can't get past this. And then just understand that there are healthier ways of remembering that are going to allow you to just get beyond the grief so that you can get back into a healthier pace of life function, especially if you get other family members and other kids that really, they need more of you. They need more of you too.
Yeah.
So these are all things that are just really important. Again, if you're really struggling with this and this topic is hitting home, please don't hesitate to reach out. Talk to somebody. It's okay to say, hey, look, I just can't do it. I need somebody to help me pass this grief. And that's absolutely fine thing to say.
No substitute for talking to someone who's walked those same paths. You know, there are some excellent support groups out there of parents who've already walked that journey.
Absolutely. And if your church doesn't have a group like that, but maybe a neighboring church does, or another community has one, don't hesitate to find out more information and plug into whatever resources are available to help you.
There's no one-size-fits-all here. Everybody grieves in their own way. Probably the most important thing to remember is that there's no right or wrong, really, as long as it's a healthy process that's at least in some way eventually moving forward.
Absolutely. And something to keep in mind as well is when you lose a loved one, even a child, where they're at right now, the message is the same. They don't want you to drag the heavy grief and the burden of that sadness through the rest of your life. They don't want that to happen, because where they're at, you know, if they were believers and, you know, especially children that haven't maybe reached that age of accountability, they don't want you to do this. They want you to get the help. They want you to get past the grief. Remembering is great. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, there's memorials and tributes, but when it's keeping you from being able to simply move on and start functioning again at a healthier level in life, that's where the problem lies.
Yeah, maybe a final point then is just to reinforce how crucial a solid base of faith is here. You know, for some, losing a child can be faith-shattering even, but ultimately it can also eventually, maybe even unexpectedly, be a faith-deepening experience for others.
Absolutely. You know, and again, if you're a believer out there and you know somebody that's going through this, just simply being there, listening, even if they are angry or they're weeping, just be there. Again, you don't have to have all the answers. That's okay.
Well put. You've been listening to Real Answers, a Wednesday feature here on the Family Life Noon Report, where we discuss the issues important to families with licensed mental health counselor Christopher Anderson. Thanks again, Chris.
Always a pleasure, Mark.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.